the last panel from this morning session before our break. So we have Kat Ermont, we have Mara Hittner, Cindy Marr, Jamie Geit, and your panel is Avoiding and Overcoming Burnout. And Mara, whenever you're ready, just turn your camera on and I'm going to turn mine off. And panel, take it away.
Okay, so first off, I just want to thank everyone for being here today. This is going to be a great panel about avoiding and overcoming burnout. It's something that I have been tackling a lot, and I hear a lot of stories through my community, through people in my circle, both at work and not at work. And I really hope this resonates with you all. So my name is Kat. I am a New York City ambassador for women in 3D printing, and I'm also the lead prototype technician at Peloton. Seems like Mara is having some technical trouble today.
Okay. All right. So why don't I just jump right in? And unless what do you think, Kat? Yes?
Yeah. So Mara Hittner, VP of Strategic Partnerships at Matter Hackers. And she's got a lot of really great stuff to talk about too. So once she joins, we can, get going.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Cindy Marr. I come from Leading Edge Coaching and Development, and I am with my colleague.
That's me, Jamie Geit.
Kat, you're going to run the slides, and this will be your cue. I'll just go like this for the next slide, okay?
Sounds good.
I want to welcome everybody to Avoiding and Overcoming Burnout. We call this session Ya Burnt. And I'm going to start with just a quick story. I have a very good friend who was just the other day talking about how she drove to work and she parked her car in the parking lot. And she told me, and then I proceeded to sit there for 45 minutes without going in. And when I asked her, wait, why didn't you go into work? She said, I honestly could not face another day. And I think a lot of you right now will understand that things are hard right now. We have a divisive government. There is a war in just this week, 2 shootings in California, and the continued threat of that pandemic that we've been going through for the last few years continues to form a backdrop in our lives. Closer to home, we are worried about our kids. Many of our children are suffering from anxiety and depression and other mental health issues. And our continues to be crazy demanding with staffing vacancies and supply chain disruptions and economic uncertainty. In a survey held just last year, in a survey of more than 15,000 American workers, more than half said they were feeling burnt out as a result of demands at work and home. And that's what today is about. Today we are going to talk about what burnout is. We're going to recognize the signals and signs, how it manifests within us. We're going to talk about how it impacts your work engagement, and we're going to talk about what you can do to help you and others cope, including a quick guided meditation towards the end by our colleague, Kat. And we're going to do all of that in just 45 minutes. Mara is here. I just want to do a quick welcome to Mara. Hi, Mara.
Hi, Mara.
By the way, we also invite you to submit your comments and questions throughout. So let's talk about what burnout is. Now, the next slide, please. Burnout is not, by the way, a medical condition, although it can lead to physical health issues. What it is a manifestation of chronic, unmitigated stress. Now, quickly, I want to defend our friend stress, because stress in itself is not inherently a bad thing. when we're under stress, our bodies undergo changes with higher than normal stress hormones like cortisol, like adrenaline. And, those changes in the short term help us get through things, right? They give us the energy and the jolt we need to show up for big presentations like this one. It gives us the energy we need to run through a burning building. But in the long term, it hurts us and it can lead to physical, emotional, and mental health issues. So, what's the difference between a bad day and prolonged burnout? Well, let's show you, let Jamie and I show you what a bad day looks and sounds like. Looks a little bit like this. Hey, Jamie,
Hey,
what's the matter?
I just seem to be having kind of a rough day.
A rough day. What's going on?
Well, this morning my alarm clock didn't go off, so I started the day later than I should have. I finally
Mm-hmm.
get everybody shuffled off to school. I think, oh, I'm going to make myself some coffee. I brew the coffee, there's no creamer.
Ah,
Yeah, my husband used the last of it. Didn't get me anymore. Didn't let me know we were out. No creamer, right? So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll use condensed milk. I open up the can. What happens? I get cut.
it's
Yeah,
terrible.
it's awful, right? No creamer. Cut. I go to get a Band-Aid. There's only one Band-Aid left. I open it up and the sticky part gets stuck to the other sticky part. I can't even use it.
Jamie, that's just terrible.
It just feels like everything that could go wrong is going wrong in my world.
Scene, it's a bad day. Let's have it. Kat is even saying that is so relatable right there in the chat. But prolonged burnout, that looks and sounds different. It looks and sounds more like this. Hey, Jamie, you ready for the day?
No, I can't.
What?
I can't.
Jamie? Jamie? Damn. Scene. So, my friends, there are a lot of factors that lead us into this place of burnout. Some of those factors are from our personal lives, things like big breakups or a divorce, things like when our kids go through tough times, things like when our own older parents who are growing older get sick. Those are things that can lead to burnout. But during our panel today, we're going to talk about factors that happen at work. And so really about these 5 factors right now. So the first factor we want to talk about is an unsustainable workload. And I'm not just talking about those normal highs and lows that all of us have in our work. I'm talking about when it goes to the highs and stays high without end. So this is an unsustainable workload when it is unclear expectations, was specifically when we don't know what we need to do to be successful, unfair treatment, unsupportive managers, managers who have no clue or no care about what we're going through. And finally, the last factor being when failures or mistakes are simply not tolerated in your workplace. So this is turn this to a panel right now, to our friends, Jamie and Kat and Mara. Here's my question for you. And I think I'm going to ask Mara first, since she's the last to join us. Mara, how is burnout showing up for you? And what, like, in this list might be driving it?
Such a loaded question, right? Because I'm realizing, we all committed to this panel. I now have like members of my team that are watching this panel and stuff. And you're like, so are you burnt out? And I'm like, I should not be saying truthful things. So, it's hard for people to actually come out and talk about stress and talk about how they're managing that balance. So I'll answer 2 ways. Number one, I have a lot of stress. I run teams at Matter Hackers. the economy is what the economy is. All of the things that you were mentioning that are happening in the world, they all affect all of us. I have tools over the years, like therapy and personal development and things that have me able to make choices. Right now in this moment, am I going to give into this stress because it's just too much, or am I going to use some tools? Am I going to make choices on how I'm feeling and how I'm reacting in the moment and in the situation? I may not be able to change my circumstances, but I can change the way that I'm reacting to those circumstances. And then the second part of my answer is as far as, managing burnout on my team. I've got 14 people on our sales team. They're all amazing. I could never do the job that they do. They inspire me every single day. I tell them that every day and sort of just hope that that's going to be enough to keep them going and keep them motivated. But what happened a couple of weeks ago really speaks to that last point, number 5 on your slide about failure and making mistakes, where I had one of my team members call me and say, I made a mistake. I messed up. She used a much stronger word than that. And she's like, I don't know what to do. I know, I'm sure I'm going to get written up for this. I understand that. I'll accept the consequences, but I just want to let you know what's happening. And I'm just like, thank goodness I have people on my team who are willing to step forward and ask me for help, because I'm a problem solver. And that's how I got into a leadership position, period. Like, come to me with your problems. And I just felt really happy that whatever it is that the spirit of our team is in a way that people do feel comfortable coming. So that's, I don't know, that was the first thing that really stuck out on your slide for me.
Thank you, Mara. What about you, Kat? How's burnout showing up for you?
So something that Mara said was can't change the circumstances, and I totally agree with that. Like, when you've made your decision, you kind of got to stick with it. But a couple of years ago, I was with a job that was unsustainable, unclear expectations, unfair treatment, unsupportive managers. It was the top 4. But I was operating with the mentality of failure is not an option, because I hold myself to a very high standard. So I did change my circumstances. And now I'm in a position with my employer where I'm able to talk to my leadership and my manager and say when I'm overwhelmed. And that kind of support has changed the amount of stress, or where stress comes from, for me. It has been really helpful for that. But then, like you said, all the background stuff, all the personal things that are going on, the worldly things, all that weight, even if I'm handling what's in front of me really well, all that weight just adds to that platter that I'm carrying. So for me, I still operate with failure is not an option, but it's okay to take a step back. I always say that no is the most powerful word for taking care of yourself, because if you create a boundary, then mistakes can happen, but they will be okay. And that's where I'm at right now.
Thank you, Kat. And Jamie, you have a pair of twins and a teenager. How's burnout showing up for you?
Well, fortunately, right now it's not showing up at work. We have excellent communication, so there's always the avenue of discussing what's going on. Like Kat said, though, it's the outside world that makes a huge difference. So, as a working parent, having children that are going through all kinds of changes at school that involve meetings or therapy or assistance, making sure that they're healthy while the world seems to be falling apart has been challenging. And before I reach the point of utilizing my tools, as was mentioned before, I usually reach this sort of breakdown point of shutting everything down, shutting everyone out. I'm not answering the phone. I'm not socializing, so that I can get in touch with my center to figure out what's really going on. Fortunately, with us offering this session in burnout so often lately, because I think everyone is at a point where they can relate, I am reminded over and over again that there are things that are within my control, that I do have the ability to stop and tackle. And if that is me finding 5 minutes to breathe, if that's me taking a walk, if that's me advocating for myself, then I'm learning how to do that as a regular form of self-care, and realizing that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that we're all human. We all have our limitations, and we should be able to, as Kat just said, set up our own boundaries and safely exist within them.
Thank you so much. So, left unchecked, my friends, burnout really sucks and it can lead to terrible things. Let's go to the next slide. So, the fact is that when we allow burnout, and really it's when we don't take steps to minimize it, to reduce it, when steps to control it, it can have a huge impact on our body and our mind and our emotion and our spirit. Jamie is going to talk quickly about each one of these kind of impacts. But while you listen, I want you to think about, how does it impact you the most? So let's go to the next slide. And Jamie, tell us what happens when burnout impacts your body.
Sure, this one's on the surface. When you feel burnout physically, your body doesn't feel at its best. You're dealing with exhaustion or fatigue. Maybe it shows up in the form of headaches. I know I get migraines. It can show up in digestive issues with not being able to eat enough, overeating, heartburn, ulcers. You might just feel sick, and not necessarily like you have the flu, but just run down, like something's just a little off. When it hits you in the body, you physically don't feel your best. Um, we're going to go to the next slide because the next place that it could possibly hit you is in the mind. Now, when you feel it in your mind, once again, things are off, but it might not be a physical manifestation. Your memory might be off, whether that's short term or long term. You may experience a fog. Things are not clear. It feels like if you could just stop, slow down, and really clarify what's going on, you could fix it, but you're not able to get above the fog. You experience increased self-doubt. All of a sudden, you're questioning your own skills, your own value, what you bring to the table. This can show up in work in your performance or at home in your performance, whether it's in things like procrastination, missed appointments, missed deadlines. You're not doing the things that you know that you need to do because somehow you can't line your mind up with the actions that you need to take. If it's not in the body or the mind, if we can move to the next slide, the next place that it could possibly hit you. Oh, as
Oh,
it's slowly going, that's okay. The next place that it can possibly hit you is in the emotions. And you know this because other people are able to see it as well. It might be that you are in just a state of sadness. You're feeling it, it's weighing you down. It could also show up as anger. You're easily frustrated. You snap at people over little things, or you have big emotional reactions to things that you wouldn't normally. Maybe you feel trapped, like life isn't going to change for you. You're stuck in this moment. You start to develop a cynical outlook, like the world just isn't good. The people around you aren't good. Your options aren't good. When you feel it in the emotions, that usually does show up in how you treat people. And the last place, if we could move to the next slide, that you can feel it, we have the body and the mind and the emotion, is in the sense of spirit. Now, this is your sense of direction and purpose. It's why you're here. When you feel it in the spirit, you feel just adrift. You've lost your sense of purpose. Now, if it's at work, you might feel like you're in the wrong career or the wrong job or just the wrong place. Overall, you might feel like you've made choices that you no longer agree with and you question why you are where you are. You tend to isolate yourself from others. You don't feel the connections you normally would, or it's draining to spend time with other people. That isolation leads to you feeling detached and alone, which can hit you in the spirit as well. And you sort of question, what is the point of all of this? Why am I here?
So I'm going to actually bring in a question that came from our audience, which is the idea of, how do we respect the boundaries between work and personal life? What do you do to set up a boundary when you come home from work, or if you work from home, the boundary of, how do I stop working to be present with people that I love? So I'm gonna ask this of, I'm gonna start with Mara.
Yeah, I feel this one deeply. My team, there's a running joke on my team that, Mara works 24/7 nights and weekends. And like, I don't know, maybe 2, 3 years ago, I would have been like proud of that. Like, that's a badge of honor. I'm from New York originally. My parents worked their asses off to get everything they have and everything they did for me. And like, that's the way it is. Not anymore, man. I don't know if it's age or wisdom or way too much anxiety and issues with burnout and all of this. But like, I just to make the decision that this Harley G had a great point on this in her last presentation. That like you need to make choices of how you show up to other people as well as how you show up for yourself. And that, I'm telling you, that is going to change the way I look at a lot of things. Because I realized that that's really what I started thinking. I'm just like, and my joke used to be like, do as I say, not as I do, to my team. Like, it doesn't mean you have to work, but like, if they don't have to do it, why should I? And here's the crazy thing. It's like the reason that I do some nights and weekends hours is because it like gives me less stress for looking ahead at a less scary week. Like, what is that? I'm not wearing my brace right now, but like I've got, issues in my elbow and my wrist from being on the computer and the phone. And it's like you gotta listen to not only what your body is telling you, but what the people around you that you're, here to inspire are telling you. And I really had to like take a moment and start really looking at what I could delegate, what was really worth my time. I apologize to all of the emails and all of the people that have been reaching out to me that I haven't responded to. It's not that you're not important. It's just that I have to make decisions every single day and every single moment of how I'm going to spend my time and what is going to be the most contribution to what I know that my purpose and direction is. And I got to be loyal to that. So I feel that one very, very deeply.
So much, Mara. Kat, what about you? Out of these four places, these, whether you're hitting the body or emotion or mind or spirit, where you hit the most?
For me, it's definitely been apparent in the mind. I feel like I've always felt kind of fatigued in my body, and I know that's just a lack of physical movement, activities, exercise. But that all stems from the mental load. I've noticed over the past few years that my memory has gotten worse. I am having trouble grasping at words. And all of that comes into my emotional self where I start doubting myself and my abilities. That's where the imposter syndrome comes in. I'm thinking, am I stupid? Have I lost my way? Am I getting, am I losing my skills or whatever? But then I realized that all of it is tied into the fact that I'm not resetting enough. And I just wanted to go to that question that came up about how do you reset the space between like coming home from work and going into something. That's something I experience a lot. When I come home from work, my partner has mentioned that I bring my work energy home, and that makes it harder for me to relax. By the time I'm relaxed, it's already really late, and then I don't get enough rest, and the cycle continues. So what I found was creating a routine for my come home is either, depending on the day, either I come home, put my bag down straight in the shower, and then I have one of those showers, not just to clean my body, but to think, recap my day. And then when I come out, I feel new. I feel fresh. I feel the day has washed off me. Or yesterday, for example, when I was anxious for this presentation, I couldn't calm down after my work day and then start to relax so I can reset and prepare myself for today. I went against my instinct and did a meditation. My instinct says, no, just keep hustling, practice, 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 work at it, you'll be there. But I did that meditation. It's actually the meditation that I'm going to read to you all later on. But it was so helpful to reset my space, reset the vibes. Thanks, Mara. And it is it doesn't feel helpful when you're not in the mindset for it, but that's where it puts you. It puts you in the mindset of being with yourself and everything is okay. And that's how I reset after coming home.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's funny because during kind of the bulk of the pandemic, when people were working from home more and more, we even offered the idea of, it used to be that we'd had that transition. Home from work, I would get on the train and transition to home. When you're working from home, there's no transition. So you have to do things like a shower or going outside and taking that walk so that you're almost like creating the commute, but in a healthier way.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't do any of this, it impacts your engagement. And by the way, if you are a leader, it impacts your engagement as well. Now, when we talk about engagement, we usually talk about people being in one of three groups. And as you listen to us describe these three groups, I want you to think about your own career and when maybe you've fallen into one of these three groups. So we're going to start with actively disengaged. When you're actively disengaged, you hate your job. You hate it. You hate what you do, who you work for, who you work. It stinks. And by the way, when you are actively disengaged, it's usually not a secret. People know. When you're actively disengaged, well, it looks like this. We call this scene, Say I'm New Here. Hi, Jamie. I'm new here at 3D Printing Is Us. I'm so excited to work here.
Yeah. I can tell that you're new.
How can you tell? Or
No. You're smiling.
oh, okay, well, I'm just super excited to be part of your team.
Why?
Because I mean, isn't it a good place to work or?
Oh, okay. So do you like disappointment up front or would you rather find it on your own? I mean, because we can have a conversation. It's up to you.
Uh, I mean, like, I don't know. Is your phone ringing right now?
Oh, it is. Hold on just one second, okay? This is Jamie. Oh my gosh, thank you. No, I can start this afternoon. Let me just clear out my desk. I've got to go.
Scene. Now, when you're actively disengaged, and I hope nobody on this whole in this workshop right now is actively disengaged, but when you are, I'm telling you, it stinks. It's toxic. It is hard to engage others if you're in this place. But if you think about it, only 30% of the American workforce is there. I'm more worried actually about the middle place, secretly disengaged. 52% of the American workforce is secretly disengaged. And when you're here, things are, they're okay, right? You're at a dinner party, people are like, how's your job? You're like, it's okay, it's a job, right? When you're secretly disengaged, you do your job, but you just do your job. It's soul sucking. And the fact is that burnout can move people to this place. The thing about secretly disengaged is we take it home with us. We're just tired. We maybe feel stuck. We maybe feel like, you know what? I might as well stay with the devil I know. When you're secretly disengaged, it looks like this. Second scene, Say I'm New Here. Hey, I'm new here. Hi, Jamie.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
I'm
Welcome.
so excited to with you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yay.
have you worked here a long time or?
Long time, very long time, 27 years.
Oh, okay. Well, what do I have to look
27.
forward to?
Well, one thing that I can say is that every day that I have come to work, there has been work to do. So that's a thing.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? No. Something you can really look forward to. We
Okay.
have really okay coffee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. And if you bring in your own mug, you will always have a mug for this coffee. It's not the best coffee. Don't set your expectations high, but it's definitely not the worst. It is really okay. You know, when I started here, my husband bought me a mug. I use it every day. I've used it every day for 27 years. And it has a cat on it and it's hanging on a branch. And underneath it says, hang in there. Right. But, you know,
Oh,
I've used it for 27 years. There's a lot that's been washed off. So now it just says, ain't here. But you get the gist. It still holds the
okay,
coffee.
I'm gonna go. Uh,
Okay. If you
see,
if you want creamer, bring your own.
Scene. So, yeah, we have all been there where things are just all right. Where do we want to be? Where do we want our teams to be? Well, we want to be fully engaged. That's when we are the best colleagues. We offer the best service. We are the most creative. We're the most productive. When you are fully engaged, it is contagious. And it looks like this last scene. Say, I'm new here. Say, I'm new here. You're
I
Jamie, right?
know you're Cindy. Oh my goodness,
Oh,
I'm
how did
so
you
excited to
know?
meet you.
Oh my God. Hi.
Did you get your welcome basket?
Oh, was that from you?
That was from me. Yes. I heard that you like coconut. I made you a couple of coconut treats in there. Some
Okay.
scones, some muffins, a coconut cream pie, just some things. I also put
Thank
some
you.
swag in there so, you could get acclimated to working with us. There's a sweater with our name on it and a water bottle. You got to stay hydrated. I'm so excited to meet you.
I mean, I even saw a teeny tiny 3D printer. It was incredible.
I actually
So
crocheted that for you.
it's good to work here.
It is phenomenal to work here. You are going to love it. Everybody is amazing. They ask you for your opinion. There's always new opportunities for growth. They really care. You know what? You've got to join some of the clubs.
A club. Like
Oh,
what?
yeah. Well, we meet up after work all the time. We just love each other so much. We have a book club, we have a cooking club, and my favorite, we have a tattoo club.
Here at our 3D printing company, there's a tattoo club.
Yeah, there is. I started it. You know what? I was just so proud of working here that I wanted to show it to the world. So I started off with a tattoo going across my shoulder blades. It says, Tattoos Are Us is great. And then underneath it, I have like a little tattoo for every client we've ever worked with. It's
Oh,
amazing. My
wow.
entire back is covered. In fact, I'm actually working on my left arm sleeve.
Scene. That's a little weird.
What?
Um, my friends, burnout, of course, impacts our engagement. So I'm gonna just ask Kat, how is burnout, how has engagement been impacted? I would say since the pandemic. What are you seeing in terms of engagement?
For me, luckily, I had a career shift right at the beginning because the pandemic affected my original company I was with. I was in limbo for the first couple of years, but now I'm with Peloton. And what I love about working there is that people are mostly actively engaged. At least the people on my team. I actually think a couple of them are watching today, so I want them to know that they are a huge part of why I enjoy working there. If I'm having a bad day, I feel comfortable enough to share that, and then they all jump into action, and same in reverse. But I've been I've been at the company long enough to see people who are actively disengaged or right in the middle, secretly disengaged, and they leave. They don't stay with the company. And I actually have a data point here that applies to that, if you don't mind me sharing it.
Please.
So according to the Deloitte Women at Work 2022 Global Outlook report, 40% of women surveyed are actively looking for a new employer and cited burnout as the main reason for leaving their jobs. And only 10% plan to stay with their employers for more than the next 5 years.
Wow.
So those numbers are from this past year. And from other resources that I've seen, these numbers have doubled over the past 5 years. So it's important, I think, to talk about disengagement the way that you are, because I'm seeing people that make me feel bad about being at work. It makes me feel bad working with them when they feel bad about being there. And so when I see them leave, I wish them the best wholeheartedly, no hard feelings, because I want them to be fully engaged where they're going. But if burnout is a problem, anywhere you go, you're going to take that with you.
I could not agree with you more. Absolutely.
So I actually had a question for all of you as we move into the second section of the panel. How can employers and leadership, and there's even a Q&A, how can teammates and colleagues support each other during burnout for, you know, people on their teams, people who work with them side by side? Mara, maybe?
Sure. I've got a couple of notes on this. So, I mean, my motto for my team is elevate the vibe. I don't know, years ago, just because it's what I wanted to do, and it's helpful to just come up, especially when we're in sales and customer support. You know, don't crap talk about customers. Don't crap talk about each other. Like elevate the vibe, and that works for customers as well as ourselves. Hackers, honestly, we provide hours and funds for personal and professional development. So every quarter, you get a couple $100 to, it could be printing related, it could be yoga classes. I use it for my freestyle rap classes. Like anything that is just going to like fill yourself up, you can take hours and you can take some money to have that, like work, you know, look, it doesn't equal work-life balance, but it gets you there, you know, it's incremental. And then, you know, like I said earlier, just there was a meme that I sent to one of my teammates. When people feel safe enough to raise their hands and say, I made a mistake or I need some help, the leader has created an environment where people feel safe to be themselves. Okay. Really hit me. Like if you can do that, if people are actually coming to you with their problems, as a leader, I think you are doing a good job because then they feel safe. They're not going elsewhere with those problems. They're still coming to you.
I'd love to add something.
Yeah, of course.
I'd love to add to that. The thing about being burnt out or in that state is it is very, you know, you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one going through this little hell right now. And my recommendation for many of you is talk about it. Talk about it with your friends. Make connections with people at work. I promise you, you're not alone. And what we can do is each other as women in particular.
That's definitely something that I've been trying to practice for myself and for people that I work with. If I see someone who's usually in a good mood, in a bad mood, I take time out of my day to ask them how they're doing. And I hope that they do the same for me. And I find that that builds a sense of community that alleviates burnout from a day-to-day basis. I wanted to also add this data point, which I think is really important and kind of what sparked this whole topic for me and wanting to talk about. This is a result of a 2016 medical study on patients with stress-related illness. Women with burnout reported less emotional support, a more sedentary work situation, high job strain, greater proportion of unpaid work, and work to a greater extent with people than women from the general population. Between 2021 and 2022 alone, reported burnout rates have doubled. So this is affecting our health. This is affecting, I know from personal experiences, seeing what stress does to an individual's health makes a huge difference. And it's important to mitigate those symptoms day to day. When it's just stress and it's just adrenaline, that's one thing. But when it starts to affect your body, your mind, your spirit, your emotions, it starts to get down to the molecular level and cause stress-related disease. And I think the number is 51% of burnout, 52% of burnout cases are women. And that's because of all these things. So I want to ask the three of you, what are some ways you're taking care of yourself in times of stress? And to wrap in one of the Q&A questions, do you have any thoughts about weighing personal goals with goals that might cause burnout?
Well, I'll
Jamie?
jump in. I think that the last couple of years have really drawn attention to how we allocate our time. And, if you're anything like me, there was a period of my life where I thought work, 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 work. And if I have to bring work home, then that's fine. I will do work at home. And if it bleeds into the weekend, that's okay. That's my job. That's what I've signed up for. But the truth is, we only have one life. And I think that I have, one, been really clear about establishing boundaries. That means when things are done, things are done. If you need me, unless it is an emergency, this is not your time. You're going to wait until the morning. I'm no longer taking on other people's fires. I have my own. Um, the second thing is, and this is sort of the motto that I'm living by, we tend to give other people more grace than we give ourselves. And so my shift in trying to either avoid burnout or step out of burnout is giving myself the grace that I would give my friends. What would I say to my friends in the same situation? How would I support my friends in the same situation? Why do I think I don't deserve that? And shifting it into a point of making myself a priority in my own schedule. And if that means, like I said, having time to get outside by myself, that's great. If that means I throw on my headphones and I'm dancing in my room all alone, I'm fine with that. Because I know that at the end of the day, I'm the only one taking care of my own health, mental health, physical health. Those are both priorities for me now in a way that I allowed over the years to get shifted to the back. So that's my adjustment.
Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, Cindy and Mara. I'm going to wrap this up with our 3-minute meditation. And I would love to have everybody in the audience, moderators behind the scenes be involved. This is my first time doing a meditation out loud, so I'm really excited to have you all on board. So get comfortable,
Yay!
and this should only take a few minutes. Okay, some music. So no matter what it is that's left you feeling overwhelmed right now, just take a moment for yourself to pause undisturbed. Just begin by taking a deep breath, breathing in through the nose, noticing how the body expands as it fills with air. And as you breathe out through the mouth, just gently closing the eyes. Just allowing the breath to return to its own natural rhythm. And we're just going to imagine that all that thinking, all the sensations, the emotion, the physical tension in the body, it's just all going to be melting away. I'd like for you to imagine a steady stream of warm sunshine flowing down through the head into the body. It's as though it travels into the body and just dissolves any of that thinking, any of that feeling. Refreshing the body and leaving you feeling a little more relaxed and at ease. And that sunshine, we're just going to watch as it begins to fill the body through the toes, through the feet, into the lower half of the legs. Again, just melting away any discomfort. You begin to let go of those thoughts. Moves into the upper half of the legs. That sunshine, bringing a sense of warmth, of ease, of space into the body. Continuing up through the stomach and the lower back, all the way up to the chest and the shoulders. and just allowing your thoughts to come and go. As it continues to flow, now filling up through the neck, into the head and the face, every single last part of the body, just feeling more spacious, more at ease. That sense of warmth, of sunlight, just dissolving any feelings of discomfort or of being overwhelmed. Just allowing that feeling to remain. Bringing attention back to the body, back to that feeling of contact and wake. Your awareness coming back to the space around you. And then when you're ready, just gently opening the eyes again. Thank you all for joining us.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, panel. That was brilliant. I love the energy. I love that. I don't think we've done a meditation ever on the TIPE conference, so this is the first, so bravo.